Now, you've written a fantastic article about the entrenched diversity, equity and inclusion regime, which has infected our campuses and corporations. We saw the US Supreme Court's affirmative action decision. You said the next piece that needs to be go is this DEI inclusion dogma, diversity, equity, inclusion dogma. How likely is that? How likely is it that we're going to see meaningful change at universities and corporations and public and private sector?
Well, it's been a bit of a white pill. It's been a bit of a cause for optimism in the month or so since the Supreme Court decision on affirmative action came down, because we actually have started to finally see some baby steps taken towards eradicating the cancer that is DEI. And, you have a very informed audience, obviously, Rita, but for anyone who might not be aware, DEI sounds very nice on paper. I mean, diversity, equity, inclusion, who could possibly oppose such nice, lofty sounding words, right? But the people who think that fail to understand that what DEI actually translates to is the exact same thing that the old and thankfully now forgotten affirmative action regime translated to, which is systemic discriminatory racism against people who do not fit the idiosyncratic criteria that the DEI commissars and diversity crats seek to help. So put another way, if you are a white person, a Christian, an Asian, a Jew, you're going to get discriminated against, whether it's in affirmative action or in DEI. Now, over the past few weeks, like I said, there actually has been a few data points that provide me and I think others with cause for optimism. So for starters, there was a horrible incident at Stanford Law School back in March, where Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals Judge Kyle Duncan, a man that I personally know, I think very highly of him as both a person and the judge, was disgustingly shouted down by a frothing mob of mini Robespierre woke activists at Stanford Law School. And the DEI dean at the center of that whole kerfuffle, a woman by the name of Tyrion Steinbach, just last week, quote unquote, resigned. I mean, you and I both know that means that she was politely asked to leave. So that's a high profile scalp. Now, it happened 4 months too late, but it's still a victory. Two other data points that are also reassuring. One, we saw 13 Republican state attorneys general led by Tennessee and Kansas send a very strong letter to the CEOs of all the Fortune 100 companies, basically saying that if you use race in any way in your hiring, firing, personnel decisions, you are now on watch after the Supreme Court's opinion in the affirmative action cases for possible violations of Title VII. So we have 13 leading Republican states now watching corporate America like a hawk. And you add on to that, Tom Cotton, the conservative senator from Arkansas, sent a very similar letter to 51 of the largest law firms in the United States and all across the world, basically saying that if you are a law firm and you either have your own DEI office or your clients have DEI offices, you also need to know that you are at serious risk of violating Title VI or Title VII, and we, the Senate, are going to watch you like a hawk and subpoena you if need be, threaten to investigate if need be. So, maybe I'm a little too optimistic, and obviously no concrete action other than the Stanford dean being fired has really happened quite yet. But I've seen some cause for optimism that people are really starting to wake up to this threat.
Yeah, if there is follow through on those threats from those Republican politicians, that would be fantastic. But we'll watch and see. But there are some good signs. The Wall Street Journal reported that companies such as Netflix, Disney, Warner Brothers, they've downgraded their DEI jobs. Thousands of these jobs have been laid off. And some companies are scaling back what they call racial justice commitments. So it is having an impact, Josh, but since it's an area we're going to keep a close eye on.